New cards revealed. In the voting, people voted for the cool looking Kraken looking thing. I don't even really know if that looks like a Kraken, but the big monstrous thing. Blizzard revealed North Sea Kraken. This is cool in the sense that it is a big card for common. Good for them. Previously, the biggest card in the common slot was Force Tank Max. It's good to see that Blizzard is making more common cards, which are big, high mana cost. The card is bad, but it is a cool card, in that there are big cards in the common slot. 9 mana, 9/7, deal 4 damage. Like, the stats are fair. You can kind of see how it would be overpowered if it were 7 mana, probably. 8 mana, it could have probably been 8 mana. 9 mana, it's too high. So yeah, just too much mana. The 9 cost card, you're looking for bigger battle cries, such as Alexstrasza's deal 15 damage, or Ysera's draw a dream card repeatedly, or Ragnaros, which deals 8 damage randomly. Yeah, this could have been 8 mana now that I think about it. So it just costs too much mana. In Arena, this card's going to be fine. Actually, it might cost too much. In Arena also. The King's Defender. Unfortunately, this is just a worth Fiery War Axe. 3 mana, 3/2. 1 mana more than the 2 mana, 3/2. For every minion with taunt you control, gain +1 durability. How many minions with taunt can you actually expect to have? The reason why Fiery War Axe is good is because you can play it early to deal with the early drops. Having it cost one more mana is bad. Even if it were a 3 mana, 3/3, it wouldn't be that good. Oh, it is for Warrior, for those who couldn't see the... Yeah, I mean, with weapons, it's not that obvious what it's for. I mean, I guess I'll state one possible combo you could have. You have your Fiery War Axe out, you play the Dread Corsair, and then you attack with the Fiery War Axe, and you play King's Defender. And bam! 3 mana, 3/3. But the problem is, 3 mana, 3/3 still isn't that good. I mean, there are no weapons like that, so I can't just say that. But, well, there was that, Cog Master's Wrench, I think, for Rogue, which was basically a 3 mana 3/3 if you played it in mech. Yeah, a 3 mana 3/3 might work, but it's just too slow, and it's not a 3 mana 3/3. It's bad. In Arena, though, Fiery War Axe is really good, and even Eaglehorn Bow is reasonable, because it's a worse Fiery War Axe generally, but like Fiery War Axe is so good that a 3 mana Fiery War Axe is still fine. So, this one's okay. In Arena. In Constructed, outclassed by Fiery War Axe, and obsoleted by Deathspite. Sacred Warrior, a priest card, another thing to interact with the hero ability, very similar to Light Warden. It has the same text as Light Warden, in fact. 4 mana, 3/5 in stats, that's good. Well, I mean, it's not good, it's okay. A lot of people are calling this the Medium Warden. One of Light Warden's main points of badness was its 2 health, and like, even when you did your combo wombo, it was just too difficult to get your Light Warden to stay on the board. Sacred Warrior is going to be able to stay on the board more, and then when you play your Circle of Healing, you can just easily make this like +8 sometimes, so then that's an 11/5. The problem is that it has to stay on the board one turn, since it doesn't have charge, unless you thought Steel Warsong Commander. That would be really interesting if Warsong Commander weren't Priest, then you might actually see Warsong Commander Sacred Warrior Circle of Healing. In a world where Dark Cultist isn't making waves, I don't really see Sacred Warrior making too many waves. I do have to be careful in like seeing the best of the cards, because it's kind of important to think about their best case world, and it's not like out of the reason to see you play the Sacred Warrior, they don't deal with it, and then the next turn you play Wild Pyromancer, you play a card that's a spell like Powered Shield, you play Circle of Healing, you have 2 guys, they have 3 guys, very reasonable situation. Sacred Warrior gets +10, and then it becomes a 13/5. And then you heal it, and it's a 15/5. And it's pretty fun. The thing is, something like that already existed for 1 mana with the text. So, just because it has 3 more health, I don't think justifies it being 3 more mana. And that's the big thing. It's a solid card, but a solid card does not a good constructed deck make. In Arena, this card is going to be really good. Can qualify this as a 4 mana 3/5, 6 mana 5/5, A big threat 4 mana 3/5. It'll be good in Arena. But I don't expect this card to be the savior of Priest. And finally, saving the most exciting card for last, Wilfred Fizzlebang. I have a little bit of sadness when I saw this as a card, because I wanted my hero Warlock to be Wilfred Fizzlebang. I had said that in the past. So people look at this and are like, oh my gosh, OP, OP. You draw the card, imagine if it costs 12, imagine if it costs 8. You go 8 mana Wilfred Fizzlebang, you tap, you play Ragnaros. You can even like do the dream, 10 mana Wilfred Fizzlebang, tap, Jiraxxus Inferno. OP, OP. Unfortunately, in my opinion, not OP. Oh, that is cool how Jiraxxus is in the background of Wilfred Fizzlebang. Or at least a demon of some sort, as Wilfred Fizzlebang is a master summoner. I guess let me start by looking at what the average mana cost of a handlock deck is. And I think we can agree that a handlock deck has probably the highest mana curve out there. If we account for the giants being substantially less in mana than they actually are, like if we generously call a mountain giant worth 6 mana, and we generously call a molten giant worth something like 8 to 10 mana, even though they're intended to be played for 4 and 0. And even if you move those cards like up or down in mana, it doesn't really skew things much. It turns out that most handlock decks still play about like 8, 9, 10 cards that are 2 mana or less, and that brings the curve down of the handlock deck to somewhere around 4. Or if we want to be really generous in respect to Wilfred Fizzlebang, we can even say 5. I'm going to be more pessimistic. I'm going to say your average mana savings, if you just put this into handlock as is, which seems to be the most relevant deck that you would put it in, would be 4. So therefore, that means that Wilfred Fizzlebang, if you use it with your hero power, and you better use it with your hero power the turn you play it, because your opponent is going to kill Wilfred Fizzlebang given its poor stats. You pay 8 mana, you save like 4, you draw a card, you lose 2 life. Basically, Wilfred Fizzlebang will have been worth like a 2 mana 4/4 really, and you had to use your hero power on the turn that he came out. And when you look at it that way, it's like a restrictive 2 mana 4/4 since you have to play him on turn 8. It's just too slow. There's a lot of variants too, like you're gonna cry when you draw Mortal Coil with it, you're going to be really happy when you draw Jiraxxus with it, but Jiraxxus is only 1 card, and like sure you could put it in Mal'Ganis also, and you could have like other big cards. It's just not going to work out because you compare it with Emperor Thaurissan, the handlock deck. Emperor Thaurissan is usually hitting something like 7, 8, 9 cards. To be pessimistic with Emperor Thaurissan, I'm going to say it hits 6 cards. Emperor Thaurissan can be played on turn 6, and then it basically is a 0 mana 5/5. You're never going to remove Emperor Thaurissan from your handlock deck, and you're never going to remove Emperor Thaurissan from Warlock decks which have a high curve. So the question is, are you going to put in both Emperor Thaurissan and Wilfred Fizzlebang? Because that's a legitimate concern, because if you could put 2 Emperor Thaurissan in your handlock deck, you probably would. And to that, I'm going to say probably not. It's a very flashy card, and certainly sometimes it can be really good, but it reminds me a lot of Holy Wrath, where if you're trying to go for that, gigantic 20 damage 20 damage Holy Wrath, it more often than not is not going to work out for you. A lot of people have gone in saying this is going to either be ridiculously overpowered or absolute garbage, and I'm going to just say it's bad, but very cool. And I like cards like these because they encourage deck builders out there to use their creative juices to find some way to abuse Wilfred Fizzlebang. And if you can abuse Wilfred Fizzlebang in some way, you're going to win the game. But it's so hard. In Arena, since you can't really build your deck around, and you don't really want an 8 mana 4/4, since it's more based off of efficient minions, Wilfred Fizzlebang will probably be like on the slightly bad side of mediocre. So like below average, but not absolutely awful. there's the argument that people are going to make on Wilfred Fizzlebang because they really like the card and they're like, oh, their eyes grow so big when they see that 0 hero power. 0. And believe me, like, I love Sneasel Shredder. I love Pied Sky Golem. I love the big cards. But through playing Constructed, I've realized the world is not a nice, warm, fuzzy place where you can get to 8 mana and play your Sneasel Shredder. You can't get to your 8 mana and then play your Wilfred Fizzlebang and then press tap. The world just isn't that great a world. You can argue that the meta will slow down because of Inspire, but no, there's no reason that the meta has to slow down. We still haven't seen any cards which cause the meta to slow down, and even if the meta were to slow down, you would still need some low-cost cards in your deck, which Wilfred Fizzlebang can always get. And yes, there might be combos that you can make which let you have your hero power reduced, like you can have the Maiden of the Lake, for example, and then you play 7 mana Wilfred Fizzlebang tap, but I'm not really seeing it either. You can even play that 2 mana 2/3, which lets your hero power be used twice, and then you do 10 mana Wilfred Fizzlebang tap tap. And when you can actually get 2 uses out of Wilfred Fizzlebang, that's where the value starts pouring in. But I'm not optimistic enough to think that a 10 mana combo inconsistently, which requires your 2/3 stay on the board, is going to work out. Putting in some thought to it, a dangerous card, which with the effect, it could be easily like super OP, and I like consider my past experience in calling Dr. Boom not good, but I did the math this time. Wilfred Fizzlebang is going to fizzle, and that is my prediction.